Hello, everyone, and welcome to Revive and Thriveology. In this episode, I interview Leslee Wegleitner about human design. She's part of Align and Achieve by Design. No, it's not design of your space, but design of your body. This is so fascinating. You know, I'm a big believer that your body and your space, it's all reciprocal. The energy just flows back and forth. And if you can understand more about your body and your life and how you go about your day to day, you go about your life and what's like kind of pre-programmed into your body, then you can understand what your space needs on a deeper level. And I know you're going to love this episode. Keep watching. Welcome to Revive and Thriveology. I help women transform their lives by harmonizing their living space through holistic home practices. I'm your host, Lisa Morton. Hello and welcome to Revive and Thriveology. I'm your host, Lisa Morton. Today, I'm so excited to have a guest. I have Leslee Wegleitner. I hope I pronounced that right. I practiced a couple times before we started. She's one of two visionaries behind Align and Achieve Design, along with Lauri Wakefield, who will have Lauri on at a later time to join us to discuss what they do. Leslee and Lauri are dedicated to helping individuals reach new heights, and coaches enhance their practice using human design. So, you know, like on the podcast here, I always kind of gear towards more with the home, right? Because that's my realm, but it's also so important to have health and wellness of your body. And I love this human design. Leslee's going to introduce us to human design if you're brand new to this topic. It's fascinating. Leslee, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Yes.
So tell everyone a little bit about human design.
So, human design, it's derived from your birth. Oh my gosh, your birth date, time, place, like astrology, and it puts it in a body graph form, and it goes into like so many different areas, like the chakra system, astrology, the Kabbalah, um, and it's it's basically the mechanics of your energy field. So if you think of how your energy works within self, like for making decisions, running your emotions, being out in the world, relationships, how you interact with self, with others. And then, so when you look at the body graph, you get like a visual and you can kind of see how this energy works, where there's like stop points, where there's start points. And if there's stop points, that can be potential conditioning, which from early childhood, from teachers and parents and relatives and siblings, and we all get impacted from other people. So what it teaches us is those areas that are now conditioned that are really not our true self.
Wow.
Yeah, so when we can really kind of hone in on the true aspects of how we function, or how our energy runs, and how we can make those right decisions, and tap into the right careers and tap into the right relationships. I mean, our life it just runs more smoothly. You're in alignment.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this work?
Oh my gosh. It was like, let's see. Oh man, at least 20 years ago, I had a girlfriend.
Wow.
I know, I had a girlfriend send me my chart.
I thought it was relatively new. I've just really heard about it in the last maybe 5 years.
Yeah, well, the guy that channeled this in, Ra Urahu, I think it was 86 is when he channeled it in. So it's been here. And then, when he started teaching it, I'm not real sure, probably in the 90s. So it has been around for quite some time, but it's just kind of taken off in the last, I don't know, last decade, I'd say, is when it's really hit momentum. But like 20 years ago, when I was introduced to it and I saw it, there was just this, oh my goodness, what is this? Like, I need to know more. And so, my Virgo mind was like, okay, I want more and more and more. So I took a bunch of courses, and I even flew to California and was learning, her style of doing it. And where it really benefited, because I kind of ended up getting a divorce. So then my life kind of shifted and changed. So I had to put it to the side. And then 5 years ago, I picked it up again and went really in depth with it. But parenting my children It was in any type of relationship. And that's why, Lori and I do the coaching
Mm-hmm.
coaches, because in any
Mm-hmm.
relationship, it's, understanding how they communicate, understanding how you communicate, understanding, their emotional style and like how they, you know, uh, process emotions and how they make
Mm-hmm.
decisions. And so, like on a parenting or like a coaching status, you can see where it would so benefit, because when you
Mm-hmm.
understand that other person and you already understand yourself, or just knowing yourself, if you want to just learn human design, you're able to kind of, when interaction, you're able to kind of go, I think that's their stuff because that's really not mine. That
Wow.
could be their conditioning because that's not my conditioning, but they're projecting it onto me. And so it
Okay.
really gives you clarity. Um, and that's been so helpful in so many arenas of my life.
That's fascinating. I'm sure it's really helpful for coaches because I know just my experience using a little bit of astrology with my
Mhm.
clients. If I can understand a little bit of astrology, and I am not, I'm no expert, but if I can understand a little bit about that, then I can help them set up their space better. So, like,
Right.
using human design would be a whole, like, another layer of knowledge.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and Lori and I have really honed in on trying to make it simple, right? So
Okay.
when a lot of
Okay.
people look at it initially, it's overwhelming. I mean, there's a bunch of these.
Oh, I will be. I saw my chart. I'm like, you're kidding me. This looks like a bizarre map of a foreign language.
Yeah, and then it's got all these keywords and these numbers and and these red lines and black lines, and you're just like, oh my goodness. But we've really broken it down, and then so you kind of learn the parts, but then you keep it synthesized as a whole. Because
Okay.
it's important to pick out different aspects of the chart, yes,
Hmm.
but it's it's really bringing it all together in a synthesized format so that you really get the big picture of what your energy
Okay.
is doing, and then you
Okay.
can kind of detail it out and break it down. um, so it's I think we've done a really good job of creating that for people so they don't get overwhelmed. They can actually
Hmm.
learn the information, but then understand how to apply the information. That's huge,
Hmm.
because it's just information. We get
Hmm.
information every single day and we're overwhelmed, or just,
Hmm.
but it's applying it and putting it into your life, and the idea of using it, to
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is key, right? And so,
Right.
I have one person that I just loved it because we just had a quick session and she just took it and ran. It was later on that day. She had a really important meeting with someone for her business, and
Okay.
she's emotionally defined. So the key for emotionally defined people is time. Don't make quick decisions. At least sleep on it. Everybody's chart's going to be a little different, but
Okay.
she was going into this meeting. I said, just remember, you don't have to make a decision. It will be there for you if it's correct. And she called me like 3 days later and she's like, I am so grateful because I really needed this time to step back. I needed to clarify what I needed in the relationship, if we went further ahead with this business relationship. And the whole thing just unfolded beautifully for her because she knew I'm supposed to pause. And she wasn't feeling that urgency from this person. I got to make a decision now. I got to make a decision now.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so just little things like that are just
That's interesting.
life
I
changing.
know when you would talk to me about my chart, what was fascinating was really confirmation for me,
Mhm.
that that I'm like on this right path, that I am following my heart, which I was want to, that's my goal, but it was this beautiful confirmation for me, and I was just like, ah, right? It was
Yeah,
that kind of a feeling.
I know. And you have so much different areas, or so many different areas that come forward for intuition for you,
Hmm.
which was really cool. So as I'm kind of looking at your different strengths and what's all going on, I mean, it really reflected back to guiding people,
Hmm.
mutating and transformation, and then the intuition part. And not only your
Yeah.
intuition of getting, but also that intuition to guide others and to change things for them that they
Hmm.
wanted, you know what I mean? Like do that little manipulation in their home to change what they're trying to change, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my goodness. I mean, you get excited. I mean, I still get
Yeah.
excited reading these charts and I'm like, oh, it's so fitting. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is so exciting, so
That's so fun.
yeah.
And even I think we got into that my chart says that I should work by myself. I have a home office. That kind of all made like so much. I mean, it was mind blowing. Well, I'm just going to tell everyone I'm going to put all of Leslee and Lauri's info in the show notes. You can go reach out to her, learn more about human design. Maybe, have your human, is it a human design chart?
Yeah,
Like
body
red? Is
graph.
that how?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
we're doing these reports. Yep, reports
Okay.
and
A
then
report. It's then I think just learning about yourself helps you be a better person, better version of yourself. And I feel like every day that's what I'm trying to do. So,
mhm.
you gave me so much confirmation of like, this is right. I am on the right path, things to be aware of. And that was really interesting. Do you have any other examples of other people you might have worked with and interesting things that you might have gathered from them?
I'm trying to think. The emotional aspect is really, I think, huge. It's like we're all
Mm-hmm.
such emotional beings, and to navigate that sometimes can be really overwhelming. So I
Mm-hmm.
had one woman, very much an empath, and her emotional center was, completely open. So obviously she takes in others' emotions. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's also the center of the spirit. And so, and when our emotions are off balance and we're like, spinning in the drama of whatever, spirit can't guide us, you know. It's a harder to stay in alignment with where we're supposed to go because we're so, you know, a lot of times in our head. It's kind of our thoughts are
Yeah.
creating, that are feeding the emotion. Maybe initially you
Mm-hmm.
feel like, and and then also to know what is yours. You walk in a room and, if you starting to get triggered or your mood drastically changes, that's really important to recognize. And most people recognize that, but it's
Okay.
it's finding the tools to how not, how to kind of overcome that, how to
Mm-hmm.
work with that, understand that, see that, create boundaries around that. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other was within the splenic center is all about safety and security in your space. And so if you have a completely, that center completely open, me personally, in my younger days, I would go to
Yeah.
these, retreats or informational and my stomach would just bloat. I mean, I looked like I was 7 months pregnant. I didn't understand what was happening, but I didn't have a boundary around how to assimilate the information in a pace that
Mm-hmm.
was right for me. And so
Okay.
through this also that recognition of, oh my gosh, there it is. That's what's happening. Now that's very intuitive, being able to sense the environment around me. But it's like you have to learn how to assimilate that in a healthy, otherwise I was just uncomfortable and just, in pain. So you're not
Yeah.
going to learn much in that state, right? Um,
Right.
so there's just those different little areas that you can kind of play with, like, and understand, like, there's a center that's called the identity center, the G center. That's all
Okay.
about also, um, for those people, like my younger son is looking for a new home. And those people, it's very important that they walk in and they feel that space out for themselves, because where
Ooh.
they're at and who they're around impacts their whole life. So it's their
Wow.
identity. And yet they're kind of very fluid in their identity. So if they're with, people that are lower vibrational, you know what? They're going to be lower vibrational. If they're, challenge themselves to a higher vibration, then they're going to, excel and be more elevated in how they show up.
That's
So,
fascinating.
and these are just simple, simple foundational pieces that we
Mm-hmm.
teach. And then you can go in a lot, of course, down the rabbit hole you can go, but
I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm sure. That was really interesting. You talked about working with your kids, and I mean, I didn't know they're grown now, but so little. I don't have children of my own, But we took our nieces on a little vacation, little getaway. And it's so interesting. I mean, they're sweet as ever. Like, they are just the sweetest girls and just so fun. But the oldest one is now a teenager, and you can tell her energy is just a little different.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so many of my friends have, teenagers now. And it's just, I can't imagine how that would help to
Oh,
understand a little more how you can support them during this
mhm.
time. Because that's a rough time of life. It's hard being a teenager. I mean, I know I had a hard time.
It's very hard. And then for them to kind of just understand those little tidbits of like my youngest son is super, super empathic. And
Okay.
at an early age, they were saying he was ADHD. It was he, wasn't he? I don't know. I chose to do the holistic path. Nothing wrong with either or. And I
Mm-hmm.
really worked with him on his boundaries. And he was just
Mm,
feeling so much energy in the classroom that he would have to get up and move around. And not to mention, he's a very energized child still to this day. He does CrossFit and he
okay.
competes. So there's a little bit of that
Well, that's a
going on.
good way to get that out.
Yeah, yeah,
What a
exactly.
brilliant way to,
But he's,
yeah.
also brilliant with his mind. And so it's it's knowing that and being kind of intuitive with that. And his focus is amazing. I mean, it's almost to the other side. So it was never a
Wow.
focus problem. It was
Okay.
just him feeling the energy in his body and having to move and not understanding, like, as a well, how old was he? 8 years old, not knowing that he
Wow.
had to just sit there, and how could he you know utilize that energy, like, did he need to tap his foot, or so anyways, as we worked through that, it was really helpful. And you know also within relationship, and going back to coaching,
Mm,
but even like spousal relationships,
mm.
mentoring in that field, where understanding that other person kind of softens what irritates you sometimes. Because it's like, well, they can't help it. It's just energy. And it's same with even
Right?
coaching. You have a client and you're like, that person's really irritating. But then you look at their chart and you're like, what? They can't help it. That's their energy. So it kind of
Right.
softens and kind of makes you kind of step back and go, well, they can't change what they are,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
as
I'm just really curious about my husband now, so I'm gonna have to reach out and look into my husband's chart. It's funny because I'm thinking of all these little ways that we like the five love languages, right? For my husband and I, that was really eye opening.
hmm
I wasn't aware of how to explain to him that I was a word of affirmation. I wanted him to write me like to write something sweet or like tell me sweet things, but I didn't know how to verbalize that to him, right?
right.
And then one day I was doing my yoga training years ago, and we'd been like it was like a weeks of it like moving my body. I was so sore. I'm like crying. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so he started writing me these little like notes every morning. And to this day, he not every morning, but most mornings he'll when he's in town, he'll leave me a note, and I save every one, right?
Yep.
And it's like we came to this great understanding. He's also just like a physical type. He wants to snuggle. I'm not a
Yeah.
snuggler. So, by understanding this, right? And that's just like dipping your toe in, just like when I work with my clients and I just look into just a touch of their astrology, right? Or, like the Enneagram, there's all these different things, but this human design is like, so deep, and it's just fascinating how deep an understanding. It isn't just dipping your toe in.
Right.
I guess
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting to, and I think it's amazing.
And it's also helping people understand to get out of their heads and to really feel in the body. And
Ooh,
then how do you process information? How do you process like the environment around you? Um,
okay.
Movement, are you a person that needs a lot of movement? Are you a person that doesn't need so much movement? For meditation, my mind is so busy. I do better if I can physically take a walk and meditate, because then my body's it's busy. My mind's busy kind of
Mm-hmm.
looking at stuff or whatever, and that's when my intuition works the best. Where it kind of pops in, or I'm driving down the road because I've got my mind busy. on something
That's so
else.
funny.
And so, and
Yeah.
for years, and sometimes I can sit and do amazing meditations, just depends, where I'm at. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, that's not a daily practice that I do because it's not that beneficial.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I do
That's
have
interesting.
my daily routine that I get up and I have my, somatic exercises, my, block therapy, and then I go into movement, whatever that is for a meditation. Um, but that's all, within my human design. I mean, it just,
Nice.
yeah. So another affirmation.
So you'd mentioned that you're out in the woods on a
Hmm.
lake. Oh my gosh, I bet it's beautiful this time of year.
It is. Yep, the colors have
Yeah.
peaked. Yep.
Yeah, and you can get outside and just be like one with nature out there.
Those
I
are,
bet it's amazing.
yes, I love my swing. I just go out there and swing.
Oh,
That's such
how
a
nice.
relaxing, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to touch into, so, you help all these people, but I want to know, how do you stay grounded? And if you're spending time outside, looking out at the lake or whatever, what do you do to support yourself when it's time to step away from helping other people?
Hmm. You know, very much outside nature.
Okay.
I live in Minnesota. It gets a little tricky in the winter. But even then, I find that I need to just bundle up and go out. I mean, even if it's just walking around the yard, down the
Okay.
driveway, like I mentioned, I have a swing. I love to just sit on the swing, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to ground,
Okay.
just kind of get myself my uh, parasympathetic, uh, just kind of calm down and get back to self. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So can I ask about your space? So this is this the space you always work in?
Yes, so this is
Yeah.
actually above my garage.
Okay.
And so the home, it's not attached to the home. So the home
Okay.
is in a different space. But yeah,
Nice. I love that pale blue. It's very fluid and it
thank
just seems
you.
like the perfect color to go in a space where you're doing your work.
Yeah, it's really calming. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Nice, nice. All right. Well, everyone, I would love to send you to Leslie and Lauri's site to go check out more information on all their work and how they can help you, because I know when the little bit I learned was just mind blowing and really affirming, and it was able at that moment to help me put my feet more on the ground, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
So I have one final question that I ask everyone. I
Yeah.
want to know your favorite space in your home.
It's going to have to be my deck, even though it's not in the home, but it's attached to the home. I spend a lot of time out there. I even bring my laptop out there sometimes in the summer when it's nice and, not too sunny. And yeah, and I work from out there. So just,
Nice.
yep, being in nature.
I love it. That's so great. It's so nice when we have those little moments we can take. Even if, you live in a city, just get outside, get some fresh air, somewhere where you can have like a view of a tree.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
got a whole lot of trees. You got it made out there. Oh, Leslie,
Uh,
thank you so much for your time
oh,
today.
thank you for having me. This was really fun. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thanks again for joining. I will see you next time. I'd like to thank our production company, Coraggio Media, the WELT 95.7 studios, and our sponsor, Good Sheet. For more information, follow the link in the show notes. Be sure to hit like, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a 5-star review. If you want to connect, find us on Facebook, and be sure to let me know what topics you'd like to hear about. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.